let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is Monday evening. It is 8 p.m. You know the rest. It is the live lounge here at Online Darts with me, Phill, Jack, Dobey, Garwood, and Lee Boyce. Gentlemen, how are we?
Nice to have you back, Lee.
Cheers, Jack.
In fact, I say that, it's nice to be back myself. I got my seat back because after sitting and watching 3 days of Pro Tour and the qualifier last week, and even Sean McDonald replaced me at one point. What was going on, Phill?
We're always looking to improve, Dob. We're always looking to improve. That's why.
I tell you what a week it was last week, though, boys. Unreal.
Yeah, very, very good week. Yeah, an awful lot happening. We had obviously Sean Mack, as Dobbs mentioned. Charlie, 9 darts. Every stream he seems to be on. There's at least one, if not two 9 darts.
That's an
annoys Dobby even more. And that obviously that was before the weekend, so all good.
Yeah, just unreal. I say, Shawnee Mack is in the chat room, mate. Massive thank you for standing in. I know you enjoyed it as well, so you never know. We may be getting more Shawnee Mack on his lunch break at time to time. Remember, everyone, come and say hi in the chat room. Loads of you in already, which is amazing. All the regulars. Remember, make sure you drop us a like because it helps with analytics, boosts us in searches and everything like that. And we are ever so close to hitting the 16K mark. I know we keep going on about it, but if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe. I think we're about 130 away from that magical number, somewhere around there. But all of you absolutely superb in the chat room as always. Plenty to discuss, plenty to talk about. I'm sure the subject of live draws and editing will come out again because that one wasn't edited together very well.
I can't be professionals like us, something like that. Anyway,
is Boris Kirchbar playing twice? I mean,
about 6 times.
But no, we'll talk about the Slam shortly because that is on the horizon. But so it's only one place to start. It seems a long, long time ago now. Tuesday started the final batch of Pro Tours, and that does seem a long while ago, Gob.
It felt like a massive long while ago, mate. God knows what's been going on since then. I've been house-hunting, I've been watching all the streams. We've obviously had the weekend as well, and oh my, it's just been hectic, mate. But yeah, the Pro Tours are done for the year, and actually, I was going to get a little bit soppy at this moment, Phill, I think, because that pretty much brings to the end our live streaming of floor events that are going to be just Dart Connect and the odd streaming for the year. And actually, from where it was in Q School, that was just an absolute whim from us guys. Let's do it. We're all in lockdown. Let's have a bit of a crack at it. Let's see what we can come up with. For it to have grown to the level that it does, the qualifier on Friday was the largest concurrent viewers we've ever had on a Pro Tour or qualifier stream of the like. Obviously, Live League tends to do it a little bit better, but to get to that level in a year, for us to be committing to it, to keeping it going, to doing it the way that we do it. Obviously, we did see a couple of people saying that they'd prefer a tinker with the layout, but that's something that will inevitably come next year. It's just a massive thank you to everybody that tunes in, that shares it around, that gets involved in the chat room, that keeps us going, because they are long days. The women's series in particular, 10-hour streams. That was just me and you for, what did we do, six days of them between us, Phill. They were very long slogs. Q School, very, very similar when you add up all that streaming in a couple of days. So, yeah, this is probably the good chance to just say a massive, massive thank you in case for the next few weeks we don't get a chance because the calendar just does not relent.
Yeah, and for those that obviously don't know, when we did the first Q School, we had a plan in our heads. It was going to go like this, wasn't it, Gob? And after half an hour, we there was a few oh dears in the WhatsApp chat, and it was like, yeah, there's no going back now.
Yeah, so we were just going to rotate people in and do an hour stint here and there, and so that people go and get lunch and food and whatever. And then we all just felt absolutely hooked, didn't want to leave, didn't want to get up at any point, and suddenly we just dug a hole for ourselves. That's the way we do it. Obviously, we do have the odd occasion where numbers dictate that we're changing around. Shawnee Mack last week is the perfect example of that. Charlie jumping on, Jar in and out as well. But for the most part, yeah, the plan just went out the window after day one. You guys seem to really enjoy the format. I don't want to claim that Barzy's Jeff Stelling or anything like that, but it is very similar to Soccer Saturday and something like that. And mate, it's here to stay now.
Completely. And look, we are going to have a sit down and have a bit of a planning meeting some point in January, or maybe before, just to see what we can do and how we can improve stuff. But we'll get there, and we will continue to tinker with bits and bobs here and there to make it better. Like you say, a huge shout out to the whole of the team that got involved with the live streams, because everyone's been involved. Cam, Dan, Charlie, Boise, Henry's come in, Sean, Liam, the whole team. It's been an absolute stint from everyone. And see, Jar is in the chat room as well. And like you say, we've already had some mini planning sessions and some little tinkers and some good bits to potentially bring you, fingers crossed, in the new year. But boys, no time to look back. We look forward, and let's get this done. First up, Pro Tours, and the first of the last block was won by this man, Hollywood, Chris Dobey, and this wasn't a surprise, Boise. The man had been playing some absolutely unreal stuff over the last 6-7 weeks, and he just carried on.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head with that one. It was what a day from Dobey. Everything, every day, he was at a top level. You can't mention this day without mentioning the semi-final with Rob Frost. That was just unbelievable standard-wise. Dobey 111, Frost 112 average-wise. But Dobey was just sensational throughout the whole day. Is it this point I'm allowed to say that he should be at the Slam, Phil? Or are we waiting until later on to discuss that part?
We'll discuss that later on, because don't worry, it's slowing down. I think that bit could get a little bit spicy.
Yeah, but back to that. The reason it will get spicy is because of there's certain players, and Dobey being one of those, who was just being on the Pro Tour has been very, very good this year. One to win more than one event. And it was just a very good first day, a couple of 9 darters. But obviously that was going to happen with Charlie on the stream, as we've already mentioned. Dobey in sensational form. So a good start to the first 3 days of Pro Tours.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. And look, the final against Searle was just a great contest, Gob. I know you were watching it on Dart Connect TV. No, you weren't on the stream. But go back to that semi-final. Dobey and Cross, that's up there for one of the Pro Tour games of the year.
It should be up there for one of the games of the year, full stop. To produce 111 and 112 average the way they did, to just keep chucking everything back at each other. I didn't mean to plan this, but I watched the Phill Taylor, Adrian Lewis Grand Slam quarterfinal, semi-final earlier on my lunch break. That's literally what I did. I just flipped YouTube up, and that was it. 50 minutes long, I get an hour, and it's just magical. And watching that was just similar. They were just chucking 110 plus averages at each other for the duration. One ekes out in front a little bit. And look, Chris Dobey, just since the World Series qualifier, has been playing absolutely unbelievable. I backed him a couple of times that first week, got beaten a semi-final on an each-way bet. So thanks, Chris. But stay smart, people. Don't bet if you can't afford to lose it. But he's just been so solid, so good. But he has this unfortunate knack of dragging everybody else's average up next to him. He's chucking like the 4th best average on tour this year, but he's got one of the best coming straight back at him as well. It's been ridiculous. It's just it's a bit like how we've bemoaned MVG's luck all year. Chris Dobey's had very, very similar in that every time he goes and produces 110 plus average, his opponent is doing the same back at him. And it's just nonsense to think that that's a thing. But Chris Dobey's had it this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Then on the Wednesday, the wait was over. Michael Van Gerwen picked up his first ranking event of the year, God. But it wasn't a surprise. This had been coming.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, you can't deny it. He has been playing a lot better over the last couple of months. The performances have increased, but the results possibly haven't. Just like we just said about Chris Dobey, his opponents seem to have raised their game at the exact moment. Daryl Gurney's manager, Matt Ward, jumped in our chat over the weekend and went, watch, Gurney will win this at 109, then he'll lose in the next round of an 82. And that's just systematic of what's been happening to Michael Van Gerwen recently, where players have played him away in the next round. They've just faltered a bit. Look, solid from MVG. Not massively unexpected, but a massive weight off his shoulder. And actually now he's got the chance to go and attack the Grand Slam, where he has a chance to settle into the tournament, perhaps take that early loss that you can't really afford anywhere else, and then just build on it. The Players' Championships, which is obviously the site of his last ranking title as well. 330 days, I think it was. 330, 340. I did the maths, but I can't remember what it was. And then head into the big one, obviously, where his record doesn't quite match Philip Douglas Taylor's, by the way, if we ever bring up that who's the best debate. Philip, just to let you know.
Boise, what we've seen from Michael with the 3 TV titles that are coming in a relatively short space of time, do you expect him to win at least one of them?
Personally, yes. I think the level we saw at the last batch of Pro Tour events when he didn't get past the last 16, but the performances he was putting in and there was knocking out. This one is obviously, without going into too much detail of the third event, he's done a quarterfinal, semi-final, and won one over these 3. His performances on stage are getting better, like the levels when he beat Price. For me, it's going to be difficult for someone to stop him. The opportunity, I think we're back to sort of the old days with MVG, where the opportunity is you need to get him early, or I'm going to be expecting to see him in the final. And obviously the Grand Slam's an opportunity with that, with it being a short format. I expect him to have a good run and pick up at least one of the remaining 3. He's looking back to himself. He's looking like he's got that confidence back, and there's that. It's just that feeling that it's going to happen, and I think everyone had that feeling he was going to win one this week. There was also, across that day, there was other names who sort of surprised me seeing him in that stage, like Jelle Klassen back into a quarterfinal. I can't remember the last time we've seen Jelle get that far on a Pro Tour event, and I wouldn't say as much as a surprise, but Kim Ibret, I know Dob will certainly gloat about this one because it's one that he tipped a few months ago with some bit of form, but he's getting back into the latter stages of these competitions again. So it's going to be interesting to see how he performs in the last 2 tournaments, obviously not in the Slam.
Moving on, Pro Tour 30, the final one. The curtain came down, but it was a very special one. And I know Gob is about to smile from ear to ear. The Polish Eagle, Krzysztof Ratajski, now has a PDC ranking tournament to his name, Gob. And again, not unexpected because he's made strides again this year.
Didn't he have a couple last year? It was just his first one of the year.
Oh, first one of the year, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
I think, I'm sure.
Yeah.
100% won Pro Tours before. Look, it was one that we perhaps were thinking this wouldn't happen for him this year. He's been solid, if not spectacular. His TV game seems to have gone up a level, but actually his floor game and in terms of results haven't quite matched what they have been in the last couple of years and going deep and reaching finals and winning Pro Tours. And it's been a weird relationship in that time, in that respect, to have inverted it the way that he has. because he was just a solid 4 player that struggled to put that game onto TV last year. Yeah, he won a Euro Tour as well. Thanks, Jar. So yeah, look, he's just absolutely solid. And you just thought him, like Van Gerwen, were going to be ones that didn't pick up that title this year, which would have been so surprising given how spread around the titles have been. If there'd been 1, 2 or 3 players dominating, like you got 6, 7 years ago, where Gary Anderson rocked up and won a tournament pretty much every weekend, Michael Van Gerwen's winning 15 out of 30 Pro Tours or something daft, and you've got Peter Wright or Gerwyn Price or someone picking up the rest, and there's only really 3 or 4 to go around for everybody else, you could understand Ratajski not potentially picking up one. But when they've been so open, so spread around, Ryan Searle's been so solid, Joe Cullen, etc., have all been in and around that. For him to have not got one this year would have been a little bit of a catastrophe, I think.
Yeah, and bordering on the top 10 now. I think it's only a matter of time, Boise, until he makes that step into the elite.
Yeah, it's just to follow on Dobbs' point. I'd seen somewhere that the last 10 Pro Tour winners were all different winners, and I think if someone would have said that before event 20 and that Ratajski wasn't known to be one of them, we'd have been very surprised as of how well he's played. And for me, he's probably on current form. He's within that top 10 best players in the world at the moment, and he's going to be pushing and challenging. And it was no surprise to see him back there. I was probably with form-wise more surprised to see Joe Cullen back in the final. Just obviously we know what's happened and how he's dropped recently. I was more surprised to see Cullen there, but very good final then, very good standard. But Ratajski back to winning ways, as Joe mentioned and Dob mentioned, that it's been over a year since we've seen that. But he's certainly going to want to push. It's just that question mark on stage of can he do it consistently? We've seen him hit big numbers. We've seen him with very good performances. We just haven't seen him very often following that up with the same level. And his B-game doesn't seem to be good enough at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just going to tee something up now as well. So, with that, this is the race for the Players' Championship, boys. And look, the top was all done and dusted. That wasn't very exciting. But all the action and all the excitement was at the bottom end, where on that last day, I'm just going to scroll down so you can see it at home. There were some people sweating, no more so than Devon Peterson.
Boise, I'll leave this bit to you because this is where you sing, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the voice notes we normally get in the group chat. How's it going?
Exactly, yeah. I was just about to say the lads in the group chat certainly got a few voice notes from me celebrating with a bit of Shakira. You're not going to hear it on the live lounge, Dob, by the way. Maybe the next time he wins. Maybe the next time he wins an event, because he will come back to the levels we've seen before. But yeah, the race was just so interesting. I think it got to a point where we've seen them fall one by one, and it was just a straight race then between Matt Edler and Devon. And Devon, I'm guessing, was just sweating on the performances that Matt Edler was putting in on a final day. What we've seen from him before, especially up against MVG, they're 1-6-1 and they're very, very close to the big fish in the following leg. There was that time where there was the Devon fans, myself included in that, was sweating that I thought Matt Edler's going to put in an outstanding performance to see out the day. But it got very, very interesting down that bottom as you've seen them drop one by one. You've then seen what Matt Edler could do to see if they push that. And fair play, to be honest, to Matt Edler, with there's been a lot of question marks around, especially in last leg shootouts, that he hasn't really got to that level that he's put himself in very good position so far. But it was a good day for Matt Ed. There just wasn't enough. We haven't seen the levels from him across the year. One day just isn't enough to put you in this. So for me, very happy to see Devon, as we can see that side. He's going to beat the Players. And
God, I suppose the big winner in this was Simon Whitlock, because going into that last day, he was in white, wasn't in green, and found a way, dodged, I think it was 10 match darts as well. We've said it before, and I'm sure we'll say it again. When it is your day, it is your day.
Yeah, look, it was a run that he needed. We haven't really seen the best of Simon Whitlock this year. He's tinkered about with equipment a few times. We've seen him throw 3, maybe 4 different sets of darts throughout the year. And considering where he was probably about 18 months ago, he seemed to have hit another peak again. He is a very, very inconsistent player over the last 5 to 10 years of Simon Whitlock. Since he probably came out of the Premier League, he's been a bit up and down. He seems to have a good 18 months, a not so good one. Keeps out of his card, resets, goes again. But like I said, sometimes you just need that little bit of luck, and he's the man that got it on the final day. If anybody missed out just on that final day, then there's that conversation to be had that you've had 29 other opportunities throughout the year to rack it up. You know what you're playing from when you first start, and okay, some of these blocks are long and hard, and we've seen Merv King's thoughts on what he thinks about playing 3 or 4 events during the week, etc. But that's just the way this year's been. Some have coped, some haven't, and they're the ones that get rewarded with a trip to Minehead. Nice and close, by the way.
Yeah, oh, completely. But like we say, they are the ones that are going. I was going to say sunny Minehead, but let's be fair, it's not going to be, is it?
It's going to be chucking it down, and they're going to send Jackie Oakley out with an umbrella again.
Oh, I still remember that, and I felt so sorry for Jackie. So sorry for her.
But will you be surprised if they do it then, Phil?
Oh, no, not at all.
You're at least going to see footage of that. That will be a running joke on the show, surely.
Yeah, oh, completely, yeah. Just trying to find. Are they archived?
What have you asked?
The Grand Slam on Dart Connect.
No,
I
it's
didn't
still on
find
there.
that one. I forgot to bring that one up.
I've done it up. It's still on there, Phil.
That's the tour card.
Where are you
Where's
seeing
it gone?
I'll put the link in our chat. Phil, I'll put the link in our chat.
I say, because
so
I
you
looked
can
at
drop
the
it on
archive events, and it's not on Friday the 5th. I've only got the Dev Tour.
Yeah, it is still on there. Didn't you see it in here? Yeah.
What's that?
I've put it in the our chat on here, mate, so you can grab it from here.
Oh, on here. I thought you were putting it in WhatsApp.
Yeah, sorry, just so you can copy it in.
2 seconds.
Got it. Some of these are a little bit gutted, aren't they? Like,
as I say, it's definitely not showing on mine.
no, it's not in the event list for me either.
To be honest, full praise to our website. I think I've done it through the link on our website. Whoever done the final day write up, I think I've done it through there. That sends you directly to the slam. So that's how I've done it. I couldn't find it myself. First thing, go on, Dob.
Yeah. Well done. Done well there, boys. But on the Friday, we did have a, shall we say, controversial qualifier. Would that be fair?
I think in respect of this year, yes. 8 spots for that for the qualifier without the usual amateur participation, if that's how you want to refer to the BDO, etc., and everything else that usually comes with a Grand Slam, is quite. It just feels a little bit hollow and a little bit disappointing that players who have had fantastic years that have won titles on the floor have inevitably missed out through the qualifier. And I know I just made the point about not making the Players' Championship finals because you've had 30 attempts to rack up enough prize money to get to the Players' Championship finals. But for me, this is a little bit different because these players have won the players that missed out have won multiple Pro Tour titles. And okay, usually you don't drop that far. We've had quite a diverse range of TV tournament and major winners There's been a lack of European championships as well, so that does fill an awful lot of those places. But for the likes of Rids and Dobey, who have won 2 Pro Tours each, to miss out automatically is just a little bit disappointing when there was just the lottery of 8 players coming through the qualifier. And I know it works numbers-wise and boards and playing down to it, but it's been so hit and miss with qualifying criteria throughout the year and rules being in place and then not being in place for the Youth World Championships that's coming up. There's been some more news about that recently. I just don't feel like those players are being rewarded from the 32 beyond perhaps in the meritocracy that we've always been promised the PDC is.
Well, the Slam was always deemed the winners' tournament in brackets, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
If you win something, you get to the Slam. And look, let us know in the chat room as well. Look, I don't think anyone will disagree that Dobey and Rids should and deserve to be at the Grand Slam of darts. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. If you win 2 Pro Tour titles, which are ranked, and then you miss a TV ranking tournament, doesn't sit right. In the whole pyramid of everything, that doesn't sit right. That you're missing a ranking tournament that you've done more than enough to qualify for.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, it doesn't sit right for me.
For each other.
Yeah, it doesn't sit right for me on the basis of if we had numerous multiple winners and we had less qualifiers. If we had, say, 4 qualifiers done through, and then we had 6 or 7 players who were on 2, we had Johnny Clayton didn't win all the TV titles, and we had numerous winners across those, and it was all very different. Then the argument could be more spread, but the fact that we've got 8 qualifiers and there's Dobey and Rids who have won 2 events. The only thing where I will side with PDC is this was set out earlier enough, and they haven't changed it like we've seen with late decisions before.
Let me stop you there. Because I had this argument with someone on Twitter. The qualifying criteria for the Grand Slam of darts was only confirmed, because I went back and checked the press release, on the 18th of August. Not at the beginning of the year. The 18th of August.
Right, maybe not the beginning.
At which point,
still
they were aware there was only going to be 2 Euro tours, which, admittedly, in any other year, we wouldn't even be talking about this, potentially, because the European Tour takes precedent over the Pro Tour. So a victory on that may have not even had these boys in the conversation. But in the year that we've had, where we've only had 2 European Tours, the lack of it, the qualifying criteria coming out late, the lack of participation from another entity, be that the BDO, the WDF, MAD, whoever, it's just disappointing, isn't it? Like, players that have played really, really well this year have lost out on a 1 in 8 chance of a draw, perhaps.
Yeah. Look, I'm with you, and I'm going to say it now. Winning a Pro Tour, or 2 in this case, is far more impressive, sorry Gob, than getting runners-up in the World Cup of Darts.
Yeah. You didn't have to do anything to get a runner-up spot in the World Cup of Darts. You literally do not have to hit a winning double.
No.
At all.
No. Look,
and
on a normal
the other
year,
thing I get is that if the pots were grouped together in it being the top 8 players in the world that qualify through tournament wins, the next 8, your 8 qualifiers from the associated tours, and then your 8 qualifiers from the qualifier, I could understand. You have 1, 1, 1, 1. But they didn't. They just split them in ranking order once they'd got through the entry criteria. And at that point, why do you need 8?
Yeah,
put everybody in
everybody
that's won a tournament, and then if you're going to shuffle them about, then you don't need players to split evenly into parts.
I was about to say the fact that once they'd got through, and then they put them into different pots anyway, was ridiculous. All 8 of those qualifiers should have been in the same pot.
Yeah.
Forget ranking order.
Yeah.
You've come through the qualifier, so you're in pot 3.
I completely agree. Those 8 should have been in a pot. The 8 players that came through, be it the Women's Series, the Challenge Tour, the UK Dev Tour, or whatever, those 8 players should have been in a pot.
Yep.
And then the 16 that had qualified through winning events this year, as that criteria was, should have been in pots 1 and 2.
Yeah.
No, completely agree. And then to rub salt in the wounds, last 64, Kim Highbreaks against Nathan Aspinall. 2 informed players, one of them bombing out early doors to rub salt in those wounds. Before we crack on, Connor is in the chat room. Played well today, mate. Played some good stuff. Welcome along. But yeah, that was obviously disappointing for the fact that we're not going to see Nathan Aspinall. But look, I suppose we get straight to it. The 16 qualifiers. Mike De Decker beat Kim Highbreaks to book his space. Gabriel Clements, again, salt in the wounds. Callum Ridds getting to within 1 game of qualifying but misses out. Stephen Bunting beat Steve Brown. The biggest reaction I've seen on Twitter for a long, long time. Raymond van Barneveld returns to our TV and returns to the Grand Slam of Darts. 5-4 win over Brendan Dolan. We'll come on to that in a minute. Martin Schindler defeats Dave Chisnell. Ryan Joyce, somehow, God knows how, defeated Daryl Gurney 5-4. Chin was 4-0 up. I would not have liked to have been in and around that conversation at the end. Christoph Ratajski. Yeah, all right, Pad. 5-1 winner over William O'Connor. And Boris Kirchmar with a very impressive performance, 5-1 winner over Ross Smith. So those were the 8 that qualified, boys.
So
9, wasn't he? 9, wasn't he? Didn't Boris qualify twice?
He's qualified 4 times.
He was in pot 2 and 3.
Sorry, Banksy, if you're watching, mate. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect. Bless you.
Banksy doesn't make many of them, so we'll enjoy them while they last.
Nah, look, I don't think the format of the draw helps putting the 8 back in and having to see which pot the name is in all of a sudden, and that don't help at all. So not on paper and clipboard and all. If it was electronic, go modern, boys. Go modern. Bless him. Just a few people in the chat room as well. Hello to you all. Jars whinging as always, but he was the man that got that report out that got us this link. So thank you very much, buddy. Connor, not till the last game. Look, mate, scoring was brilliant today. He just doubles need tightening up a little bit, and you'll be in contention come the end of the week, I think. Hello, Pim, as well. And Jonathan, that's exactly where we're going to start with these 8 results, Phil. Jar's favourite player qualified for Jar's favourite tournament. I couldn't have summed it up any better.
Before we go, Tim, hope you're all good, mate, and enjoyed Amsterdam. But yeah, we'll go back to the ranking event that is the Grand Slam of Darts, and Raymond van Barneveld qualified for that ranking event, boys.
It was just what a run, wasn't it? Like, we saw glimpses perhaps in the last couple of blocks of Pro Tours that the form was starting to return for Raymond. We haven't really seen it much through the middle part of the season. Obviously, he made a big impact when he did return earlier on in February. But like I said, it has dipped a little bit, and now he's on that climb again. And the man's been there and done it enough, right? If you're not going to have a crack at the match play, that's your time to ease off a little bit. Enjoy the summer, because we've seen players burn out, and then jump in and pick it up as the back end comes in. He's in the Slam now. He's in the Players' Championship finals, and he's in the World Championships. And those 3 are a massive opportunity for someone of Raymond van Barneveld's caliber and experience to make a shed load of money in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, completely. Pim says, do you think Mike De Decker will keep his tour card following his qualification? I think he's got a huge, huge shout now.
Where is he?
He is 68th on 38k, 2.5k off of 64.
includes prize money for all remaining. So he's got to get out and carry on and get a couple of rounds. But yeah, essentially.
He's got a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
You
definitely
have to
got
be
a
in these
chance.
events to give yourself a chance if you're outside of it, because there's no Pro Tours left. So that's the best option he's got on doing so.
We'll put this up as we're all about the Grand Slam at the moment. There they are, the 8 groups, boys, and there's some fairly tasty ones. But let's talk first of all about the scheduling. The fact that the world champion, the world number 1, and arguably the best player in the world right now, only made the afternoon shift.
I'm not allowed to talk about scheduling. I just get in trouble, and you just tell me off that money talks and they can do what they want. And now all of a sudden, Phil, you want to start as a conversation? No, thanks. Not interested.
But again, though, does that not show you that TV companies do what they want?
Yeah, which is ridiculous. And they're far too powerful.
Yeah, on this one, Phil, it would have been very. I'm not sure if they've done it before where they've split the groups. It is normally E to H and A to D on the split. And when you look, especially with the Barney return, that if Barney wouldn't have qualified, we could have potentially, unless we've fallen in there, maybe we'd have still seen it this way. But those two are certainly, and Michael are the pulls to bring that into the Saturday night. I know we was chatting about it last week before it was released when we expected it, if it was going to be broken up or not. I am glad they've kept it, that it is E to H and A to D are played that way. So when it runs throughout the week, they are playing the same and there's no advantage to certain players or certain groups. So I'm glad they've done it that way and they haven't switched it to having, let's say A and B with E and H on one session, which would probably have been the likelihood. So I'm glad they've kept it the way that they normally do, with it being in those 4 being in the afternoon and then the second 4 in the evening.
Well, I'd be kicking off if they didn't, because the way the knockouts work, those groups that are next to each other then play on opposite days, don't they? And so on until it breaks down properly and whatever. So then you have players with far more advantage or far less advantage in time off and recovery time, which is something that I've kicked off about this year already. And players are like, oh, it's not long enough. So, look, while we're talking about the order of play, and forget the fact that you get out your group, you play whoever finishes second in the group adjacent to you. So if Michael Van Gerwen wins Group G and Michael Smith finished second in Group H, you'll play them. And then you go back and play the winner of the opposite side of that. It's just
ridiculous.
Stupid. Once you've beaten somebody in a group, the next time you should be able to meet them is the final.
Correct.
Dob, I dove around before. I think similar to, it's how they do it in World Cup in football. The meet in the semi. I think that's how it should be, because it's the odds are split, and that's where you'd meet. But it never makes any sense where you've had a group game. You've probably played on the Tuesday night. You're playing it then on the Friday. The same player. That should then be at least the Sunday in a semi-final if you've got that far. Yeah. I always find it very strange to do that way.
But
it's just easy. It just means that there's no messing around with trying to work things out. You always play the player in the adjacent group. It builds down, and your bracket never really changes to where players jump in. The issue is that they seed the groups. If it was an open draw, if the 8 players were randomly assigned into 8 different groups, it doesn't matter. But they're not. So the minute that they seed the groups, they have to do that, or technically, your players would lose their seeding. And that's what they protect, and I just don't agree with it. You're seeded by getting in the group and getting everybody else underneath it. The other 7 players that finished in the top 8 are just, you have to play them at some point.
If you finish second in the group, you lose the right to keep your seeding anyway, in my opinion.
Pretty much. But then you've pretty much kept it in a roundabout way.
Yeah, because you're still in that same quarter.
Yeah. Because if you're number 1 seed, Gerwen Price, and you effectively lose your seeding by finishing second, you still should possibly have the easiest of any player finishing second game in the rest of the draw. because you should be playing the number 8 seed. And I know Johnny Clayton is not the 8th best player in this draw right now, but you get the concept.
Yeah, no, completely. But Group A, the world champion, Gerwen Price. Talk about him in a second. Christoph Ratajski, Martin Schindler, and Nathan Rafferty. Now, short format does bring them back into play, but it's hard to see Rafferty getting much out of this, the form the other 3 are in at the moment.
Yeah, completely agree. It's a horrible draw for him, but like you said, short format is a balancer.
An interesting Instagram story today from the number 1 seed, the world number 1. Currently having some family time and a holiday in Tenerife. Brave, foolish, or naive this close to the tournament, boys?
Going to be all of the
Only
above?
he could tell us, but as a man that's had issues with COVID already this year, travelling abroad when you then got to come back in and take a COVID test and a 2-day or whatever it is, plus then go to the venue, test again, etc. Even if you end up with a false positive again, which has possibly already done you once, by the way, because don't forget he tested 3 times at home after not being allowed into the Premier League, and all 3 of them said he was absolutely fine. Just wrap yourself in cotton wool for a week, because there's a lot of money on the line for the Grand Slam of Darts, especially if you want that £2 million prize money that you keep going on about.
Yeah. Group B, Johnny Clayton, Mervyn King, Bradley Brooks, and the hot property that is Rusty Jake Rodriguez. Now, I think this group, look, I think Johnny wins it. But the other 3, look, if Merv turns up and plays well, he'd fancy it. But if we only get what I call standard Mervyn, which is still very good, the others are in contention here.
Yeah, it's certainly a group that it's hard to pick a group of death as such. There's some difficult ones. For me, when I was looking at it earlier and sort of working out the routes, I had a feeling that predictions were going to be coming at some stage. I actually had Merv to come out on top of this one, with Johnny coming through with it. The form that Rusty Jake's in at the moment will certainly be pushing. The one I'd be, if we're talking about Rafferty in the other group, the one I'd be thinking more who's potentially would struggle to pick up much here would be Bradley Brooks. We know what he can do, but I just think the form of Rusty Jake and with Clayton and Merv, I'm sure Dob will be disappointed that I'm tipping Merv to win a group, because you know that means he'll probably finish bottom. But it's one that it is one that especially we haven't seen Johnny as much on stage. There was obviously not in the Euros and stuff like that, so missed one batch at the Pro Tour. I just think Merv will come on that one, but it's certainly one group to keep an eye on, because I think it will run all the way.
Group C. This is interesting for me. James Wade, Rob Cross, Boris Kirchmar, Jim Williams, and Gob. It's fair to say that this one, the seed in this group, is bang out of nick right now.
Yeah, he's not playing very well at all, as James. And the thing is, over these short formats, he doesn't really have the opportunity to wade through them. If somebody does something impressive, he doesn't have the time to wear them down, be the consistent James Wade that we're so used to seeing from the start of the year from the Premier League. James has seen someone that seems to invert his form to everybody else in the calendar year. Everyone else knows how to peak for the back end of the year, where the most majors are. James seems to peak for the start end of the year, the Masters, the UK Open, the Premier League to an extent when he is picked, and then has a stint at the match play, and then he just seems to drop off for a bit. It's almost as if he's just not interested in the World Championship because it just doesn't suit his gameplay at all. So, yeah, look, he's out of form a little bit. The scoring power just isn't there at the minute, and he seems to have lost his love affair with tops and tens at the minute. It's just not there when he wants it. Rob Cross is the absolute favourite from this right now. His turnaround and form is nothing short of sensational. He looked like a player that was massively on the slide. The other two, bit of a coin toss. I think it will come down to the head-to-head between them, to be honest. Boris Kirchmar is very, very solid. Jim Williams has looked brilliant. at times on the live league. But I do feel like Jim struggles to settle a lot. He's looked brilliant on the live league when he's had the chance to get into evenings, even on finals nights. I feel like he's lost the first game a lot, snuck through, and then built his way up through the semi-final, etc. So first game has to take advantage of the James Wade draw, I think it is. If he doesn't, then he's up against it, especially over the short format. But Jim Williams definitely has the ability to get out of this group second.
And the live league format could help him, as Hendy says in the chat.
Yeah, he's used to playing the short distances. It's just if he settles, he just always looks a little bit anxious to me, this Jim. And I'm not sure if it's the action, just his demeanour in general. I just want to see him go up there with that look of confidence and determination a little bit. That means that I'm just going to win this because he's 100% got the ability.
Yeah, completely. Group D, Dimitri Vandenberg, Stephen Bunting, Ryan Joyce, and Roby John. Again, Boise, this one's... You can make a case for all four of these to come through this group.
Yeah, I expect Dimmy to come through it. And then for me, the deciding factor will be, I think, just looking at the order of play on Saturday, the first game of the tournament between Bunting and Joyce will be that bid, that the winner of that would probably then be the one to come through it. Yes, it's a difficult group. You can make a point for all of those, but we've seen a lot more of Bunting, Joyce, and Dimmer than we have Roby John to a high level. Ryan Joyce, if we can get his then on those 16s, we know he can cause damage, especially in this short format. For me, it's just all on that first time. I expect Dimmy to come through it, and then it's who can come out the better of the Bunting and Joyce game, because the pressure just certainly eases once you've got that first win. If you're then chasing it on the Sunday and then going into early parts of next week, it then can be a bit of a struggle. But I'd probably edge towards the top two in that, Dimmy and Bunting to come through it.
Group E, all eyes on this one, Gob. Peter Wright, Gabriel Clemens, Mike De Decker, Balan Sherrock. All eyes on this one.
And montages from Sky, of course. This is an interesting group. Gabriel Clemens has struggled a bit on TV since he got his big win over Peter Wright earlier in the year. Mike Decker seems to be hitting some very, very good form at the right time. He beat Adrian Lewis and then Kim Huybrechts to qualify. I'll be quite honest, I was fully prepared for an Adrian Lewis-Kim Huybrechts qualifying match, and I'm very much looking forward to that and being happy no matter which one of those two came through. De Decker played the spoiler in that. And look, short format on TV, a format that Fallon is used to playing in the live league. We've seen it. Perhaps it reflects the ladies' game a little bit more than it does the men who are used to playing first to six as well. She has the opportunity to go up and just rattle some cages and do what she can do. Wright struggling for form, but he has gone back to a straighter dart, and he seemed to stick with a similar enough setup for 3 of the days. There was a little bit of moderation between the flight and stem, but that's what you used to with Peter Wright, even when he's playing well. But it was a straight dart that was back. It started off as, I can't remember what the name is, but then it ended up back as the Elements and with a stone grip on them. Look, anything could happen in this group.
Don't worry, we'll get predictions shortly. Group F. Again, this one is wide open. Jose de Souza, Luke Humphreys, Mensur Sulovic, and Matt Campbell, who I am buzzing to see back on our TV screens. This, Boise, is tough to call.
Yeah, it's certainly it's a bumper group, isn't it? I know you said in Group D there's a taste for everyone. There certainly is in Group F. There's not any of those that I can sort of say. I don't expect anyone in that group not to win a game. Is probably what I can say about that. That it should be that close, because you'd expect all of which to pick up points. We know how special people
to qualify. It comes from this group.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I think it goes down to the final night. We know how good that Jose, Humphreys, Sulovic, Campbell all can be, and especially then when we get the short format, just the quality that we're going to see in this group as well. Not how tight it's going to be. There's other groups where it made that a bit strappy. With this, it is going to be quality from start to finish in Group F, and trying to pick who comes out where is neon impossible. And I think we might even be, after they've all played twice, we might still be in a situation when we can't decide who's going to finish top, because it will be that tight. It's one of, if not my favourite group in regards to how it's all fell in the 4 players, because it's just, I can't pick who's going to finish first or fourth. It could be in any order.
Group G, I think most people will agree. I think this is one of the easiest groups to call. Michael Van Gerwen, Joe Cullen, John Henderson, Lisa Ashton, and not being horrible to John or Lisa, but the top 2 are a class above form-wise right now than the other 2. Go.
Yeah, I think so. Look, Michael's refound is staying power. Joe Cullen has just been ridiculous for the last 18 months. I fancy Lisa more than John Henderson in this group, if anything's going to happen, because if she gets a positive result against Michael Van Gerwen first, because that's how it works out, isn't it? 1 plays 4 in the group. Short format, gets out the blocks like we know she can, rattles a few feathers. Michael takes a little bit while to settle as well. She gets a positive result from that one, beats John Henderson. You can see her sneaking out the group with 2 wins. So, yeah, I fancy Lisa more than I do John Henderson in this group, but odds on the top 2 massively.
And again, final Group H, unfortunately, I think there's a whipping boy in this one. Gary Anderson, Michael Smith, Raymond Van Barneveld, and Joe Davis, who is actually carrying an injury right now as well, which doesn't help.
It doesn't help in that group.
Joe Davis in top form would struggle, and that's no offence to Joe at all, but the players in now, that's the one thing you can go towards. Obviously, Barney's done through the qualifier, so you would say there's a bit of form in there. Anderson, we haven't seen the levels that we know it in it, and I would probably say the same about Michael Smith on stage. So there's those question marks there. But for that and the lack of Barney's time on stage across the year, I still expect all 3 to beat Joe, but it certainly means that the 3 of them will be fighting out. And when we talk about Group F and the quality that's in there, there's certainly the quality name-wise. It's just what form they all bring. And it's going to be interesting to see all 3 of those when they are under pressure. Coming into is it the Monday night or Tuesday night they'll play their games? It's going to be Tuesday night. It's going to be interesting then who's in that pressure situation, who comes through out of those 3. But I expect it to be, so it's unfortunately on Joe to be the bit of the whipping boy in this one. But then the 3 of those fighting it out, and it is difficult to pick, as we're not sure what level we'll see from the 3 of them.
How are we doing, Dazza, in the chat room, mate? Hope you are all well up in Teesside. Hope it's not too cold up there for you. So, prediction time, boys. I would like your winner and runner-up from the groups. We'll start at the top. God,
you're not writing order now, are you?
What's that?
You normally ask us for 4 names and we can't even get them. Now you want 16.
Someone's got a new pen.
I want group winners and runners up.
It's 100% Harry Potter pen as well, a notebook, isn't it?
It may be
Marauders map notebook.
The Marauders.
There
map.
it is. I told you.
Yeah, Dob, I was super. I thought I was really well prepared tonight. I even had my semi-finalists and my finalists ready for the Advanced Slam, and now he's done with group stage winners.
Now you've got to pluck another 12 names out. I mean, look, I might refuse to give you any of my predictions until we hit 50 likes, anyway.
So, God, Group A, winner, runner-up.
50 likes, and I tell you. 178 votes on the poll, which takes more effort than clicking the thumbs up button. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed, folks. Come on. Group A, 1 and 2, Price and Ratajski.
In that order?
Yeah.
Boys?
Snap.
We've doomed them. We've all gone the same. Doomed.
That's never good. Yeah.
Group B. Boise, winner and runner-up.
Merv winner, Clayton second.
Gob. Again, in the chat room, get your group winners and runners-up in as well. Get involved.
Mervyn King 1. Rusty Jake 2.
We're going different because I'm going Johnny to win, but I'm with Gob. I'm going Rusty Jake 2.
So we're not even doing different orders here.
You just spent 3 days playing race to 4 against players chucking 100 averages back at him, which, by the way, is ridiculous. And I can't wait to have that conversation. But Christ! And Mervyn King is, don't get me wrong, Johnny Clayton is obviously playing very well. But this run has to end at some point from the ferret. He can't just keep winning TV titles. It's ridiculous. He's already in that elite club of winning 4 in a calendar year. Just can't. It can't get to 5 or 6, surely. When you stop him early.
Group C, Gob.
Rob Cross 1. Jim Williams 2.
That's the same as mine. So we're only Boise. Are you making it another?
No, Wade comes through it in second. It's hard to argue with Cross not finishing top, but I think Wade just comes through. And just on that one, reason I do it, I think Wade playing Williams first aim in that group doesn't help Williams. If that was either the second or third, I would then be saying, to Dobbs' point, really, the fact that it gave him time to build upon that stage and that sort of used to the environment to then. Just the fact that that's first, I think Wade will come through.
It helps if it beats him, though.
Yeah, certainly. But I just think if that was second or third, Dane, I would be probably edging towards Williams, but I expect Wade to come through that one and put him in a good position.
Group D, Gob.
I'm feeling a shock in this one. Ryan Joyce 1.
Gob, just so you know, you say you feel
Bunting
a shot in this. You feel a shot in this one. You've had James Wade to be knocked out in Group C and Johnny Clayton to be knocked out in Group B. So
yeah, but Wade's playing crap. Wade's playing crap.
And Johnny Clayton.
Yeah, to be fair. Yeah, I'm feeling another one. Ryan Joyce 1.
Evening to Matty Edgar as well. Prime time in the chat room, giving us some winners and runners up. Hope you are well, mate. So, Gob's going Joyce and
Bunting.
Boise.
Bunting and Dimmy in that order.
I've gone Bunting to win it, Dimmy as runner up as well. Group E. Here's the interesting one. Boise, where are you going with Group E?
Peter Wright 1. Clemens 2.
Gob.
Snakebite 1. Dedeker 2.
I've done a feeling we're all going to disagree. Phill?
I think this could be an absolute minefield. Genuinely do. I'm going right 1 if he uses the correct setup, but I worry. But I think he will do. And I'm going.
I think
Fallon.
he's realised now. I think the last couple of days at the Pro Tour, he's realised that's the setup, that's what he has to do, and he just has to get back to throwing them properly. I hope.
Again, I think Fallon playing Peter first might help her because it gets out of the way. God, that face, I just know exactly what you're thinking there.
No.
Group F. Here we go then. For me, this is the toughest one to call out of them all, God. Jose, Luke, Mensa, Matt.
It is. And I've already curtailed 3 seeds. I can't be knocking out any more, surely. Look, races to 10 or more, Jose de Souza is just a class above, I think. The rest of the field is very, very strong, but he wins this last year because he got out in front of people and put them under pressure. The fact these are races to 4 and we've seen him struggle a little bit for the last year. He's struggled with his COVID jab and his muscles and that sort of thing. Just makes him that little bit more vulnerable. Mensah 1. Jose 2. Just. I think Mensah's pace and Jose's to an extent, and possibly even Matt. Luke Humphries likes to play very, very fast, and I'm not sure the other 3 are going to allow that. And I think that's an issue in a race to 4 because you just want to get up and get done. And if you're in scraps constantly, slowed down in what should be quick matches.
It's race to 5, isn't it? But still, it's only an extra leg.
Yeah.
Boise?
It finishes in the order the table is now. Jose 1, Luke 2. However, as I said while we were sorting through the groups, that's an horrible group. It could finish anyway in any order of 1 to 4. But yeah, Jose 1, Luke 2.
Yeah, I'm going Luke 1, Mensa 2. Group G. I think we're all going to agree on the players, just which way round we have them. Boise, which way round are you going?
I have the table once then, finishing as it looks now in 1 and 2. I think Lisa, that's the better of John, and I'm only doing 1 and 2. But I think Michael top, Joe second.
Go.
Colin 1, MVG 2.
Shawnee Mack in the chat room says Hendo 1, Ashton 2. Scenes. That would be scenes. And then,
with predictions like that, why did we ever let him leave at lunchtime on Friday?
The last group, I think we're all going to agree that Joe finishes bottom. But which way round are we going with the others? To you first, Gob.
Michael Smith 1. Raymond van Barneveld 2.
Boise.
Gary Anderson 1. Barney 2.
RVB 1. Michael Smith 2. I worry Frando at the moment.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, over the short format, what we could see from Gary Anderson is 5 from 5 on the doubles and a 98 average that will more than likely win him a match. But you're also just as likely to see 1 from 14 on a double, an 88 average, and then get spanked in a short format.
It's again with these groups. Looking at the first game, I think it's so important in this. And as we're expecting Joe to potentially get beaten fairly easy by all 3, I just think if Andal comes through that 5-0, 5-1, with less pressure on him down into that second game, I just see him coming through it. I'm concerned with the back end of the tournament, how far he then continues, because him falling into either Michael or Joe isn't nice at all. And then potentially they won the following day. But getting through the group, I still expect Andal to come through it.
Yeah, I think, look, even though we think Joe will get beaten, he's quite slow. That will frustrate Gary. And that might bring him back into it. And look, we've seen him play on the Live League. He is very, very slow. As in, not once he's at the hockey, but his setup time is very deliberate. He won't be rushed. He'll go back. He'll take his sip. He won't approach the hockey until Gary's round and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, and add to that, Phil, the injury as well. I was only aware of that when you mentioned it live, but depending on what that is, if that then makes that a little bit longer, whatever that might be, that then to slow it down even more. I just think we'll see Andal come through it early on, and that's why I just put him in favourite for those. But it's going to be very close between the three, I'd expect.
Right. We know where we're going now. I would like your finalists, please, boys, from your predictions.
It's a big jump.
It's a big jump. Considering I said to him, I've prepared semi-finalists and finalists, he's threw me off down group stages, and then he's missed my semi-finalists and gone straight to the final.
Only because trying to work it out. Well, now tell her I've got our people. We'll go semi-finalists then. We'll go. I've got the table up.
Yeah, because it's an A or a B, a C or a D, an E or an F, and a G or a H, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah, so.
And E and F plays G and H, isn't it? And A and B play C and D in semi-finals, is that right?
Yeah.
So from the top half, Group A to D, Gob, who are you going for?
I really, really, really want it to be Christoph Ratajski. But I think I'm going to have to say Gerwen Price. Will play Rob Cross in the semi-final.
That's concerning that you've got the same as me.
Lee's nodded
even
as
more
well.
Even more
Lee's
concerning is
well.
that the same as me.
Oh dear.
Are you the same, boys? Yeah?
Yeah, unfortunately. I feel like I want to change now. For your sake, not for mine.
Bottom half.
I'll go first, so it allows Dob to change his mind if he's not similar. I know you definitely haven't, as one of my semi-finalists. You didn't pick to go through, Phil. So I've got MVG to get the better of Jose.
Have you? I have Peter Wright to play Michael Smith.
I have got MBG to play Peter Wright. So, from your semi-finalists, who wins and who do they beat in the final?
For me, Gerwen Price beats MVG. To win his first TV title of
Price
since the
beats
world.
Smith.
I'm going MVG wins against Price.
Shock.
Seen enough. And for all those that know in our group, I have also backed him to win the world.
Of course. See, it's the second
players
event
as
in a
well.
row, by the way, where I haven't even picked Johnny Clayton, and he's going to win it but the run has to come to an end at some point. It just does. You can't keep winning TV titles the way that man is. It's not natural.
Terence says MVG won't get past the quarters. If he gets beat, I think it'll be in the semis. The little quarter he's in, he will fancy that. Look, let's remove Joe Davis from the equation. Over the longer format, he will enjoy playing Gary Anderson, Michael Van Gerwen, Michael Smith, Barney, or Joe. They all play at such a lovely pace.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I also just, when we looked at the quarters, that's why I think if Jose that's through the group, and it's an unbelievably tough group to get through, looking at who he can match up against in Group E, I know Peter Wright's in there, but the form is in. That's sort of why I edge towards that. Similar approach with MVG. Looking at that when he then to the London format, I think MVG, if comes through that group, which I fully expect him to do so, then becomes strong favourite to come through that quarter because of the format being extended.
Yeah. So, chat room, what are we saying? The Grand Slam, get your winners in.
We have another issue now, Phil. Not only did I agree with you on semi-finalists or whatever it was, I actually agree with Jara on something. Johnny Clayton wins a Players' Championship final.
Yeah.
I think that event just suits him.
It's going to be interesting. Chat room been absolutely superb for our look at the Grand Slam. And for all those asking, I've got it here as well. That is the TV schedule for the tournament. Look, Sunday, the final day is an absolute brutal affair. The fact that you've got to play 2 best of 31 games in a day, Gob, potentially 62 legs of darts is a lot.
Yes. I hate that. Another thing to moan about the Grand Slam of darts is it's almost as if we don't really like this tournament.
Yeah, look, brutal on that last day. Absolutely brutal.
It is. It's mental just with the scheduling of the Friday and the Saturday, having 2 quarterfinals on those, and then putting someone who's played that quarterfinal, that London quarterfinal on the Saturday night, back on the Sunday afternoon, and then into the final. Whoever plays on the Friday, who's in that quarter for the Friday, surely is in a better position on the back end of the tournament if they're in the final. Someone who's played those games Saturday evening, Sunday afternoon, and Sunday night. It's very, very strange. While we're going through them as well, it's interesting while we're debating who's winning and where, and 2 of us picking Derwin Price. Looking at the poll at the moment with 215 votes, it's very close between Clayton and MVG. Derwin Price is not fancied much compared to the other 2, but the biggest percentage shows, I guess, the split of the tournaments done at the moment, with a third or as close to a third as the votes going to someone else other than those 3 to pick up the title.
Yeah, no, I agree. But it's been a busy week in the world of darts. We'll do the easy one first of all because it's easy to tee up. And I've got to say, this was arguably the worst way I've ever seen a new tournament sponsor announced in my life. Kazoo will sponsor the Premier League in 2022. And boys, let's be fair, it was a bod's job, wasn't it?
They released the fixtures and they're like, oh, by the way, they're sponsoring it. And I was like, oh, okay. Don't get me wrong, it is good that we are moving away from some of the more traditional gambling company sponsors. It's nice that other businesses and markets feel that they can get into the darts now. We haven't really had it for a long, long time. Maybe McCoy's was one of the more recent ones. I can't think of many others that haven't really been a bookmakers, and that was a long, long time ago.
McCoy both with the Premier League, didn't they?
Yeah. Someone will jump in somewhere in a minute with something that wasn't cash converters, maybe, etc. But yeah, a little bit.
Get a trade, maybe. Another one.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
But look, the Premier League's back. The fixtures list looks great. We sort of knew it's going to look like that anyway. Interesting couple of changes. Obviously, finishing in Newcastle rather than London, starting in Cardiff. I think that's a nod to the fact that Price didn't really get a homecoming as world champion. And they're going to adore that. Johnny Clayton's an absolute shoe-in for it right now as well. So that'll be an interesting atmosphere. Some of the venues, perhaps it needs changing up at some point, but we'll see. I think we'll have a better concept of that this year once everybody's back in the venues, and we see how it goes, and we can see which venues have responded to it after being out of COVID, because that will give places a boost, and we can see which ones perhaps need trimming off the edge.
Terence says, if the Worlds goes, all sets go to 5 sets, they play 65 plus. Yeah, but Terence, the difference is that is one continuous game. Your energy levels and adrenaline levels don't go like that. Playing a huge semi-final, your up is huge, your come down is also huge, and then to try and get back up again, I'm not sure if Matty Edgar is still in the chat room or does it. They'll tell you that fighting your adrenaline rush is the worst thing in the world. So playing it one constant game is fine because you're in that moment all the time. It's that if you play the first semi-final, you might have 4 hours, 5 hours off. Carnage.
Yeah.
Also, as one Jake says, do you think that William Hill will stay as the World Championship sponsor? No. Mainly because, look, obviously I work in the gambling industry and have friends within it. So those that don't know, a few years ago, William Hill was sold to the Caesars Group in America. At that point, they were told that there would be no more sponsorship deals signed in the UK. Hence why deals weren't renewed with Matchroom Boxing, Anthony Joshua, and so on. Now, at the moment, Hills are in the process of being sold off from the Caesars Group. I'm not going to tell you who, just in case something happens. In the industry, it's well known. But at the moment, that sale is in the process of going through. Whether it goes through in time or not to rescue the World Championship sponsorship deal, we don't know. So if the sale gets completed quickly, potentially, but if it doesn't, then no. I think I summed that up right, boys, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
So, yeah. That was that one. A little bit of inside knowledge working in the industry does help at times.
A lot of talk about sponsorship in the chat room as well, actually. People saying about Kazoo, are they getting too much exposure? And how come the Premier League never has a stable sponsor? Seems to change every 2 to 3 years. I think Kazoo are having a little bit of a feeling out process. They've picked up the Slam and was it the European Championship this year?
Yeah.
And obviously now they've moved on to the Premier League. I'm not sure they've committed to either of the 2 events that they've got this year for next year. So they've come into the sport. They've worked their way up. Now they've got one of the blue chip ones, if you like, that everybody refers to as your non-existent Triple Crown. Let's not get into that debate. And the fact that they're prepared to chuck a load of money at it because their main rival, Cinch, seems to be absolutely everywhere at the minute as well, certainly helps the sport of darts because that's going up. How come the Premier League has never had a stable sponsor? Seems to change every 2 to 3 years. I can only think, Phil, because it's bloody expensive to sponsor. It is the event that gets the second most exposure on the darting calendar because you've got so many weeks. And actually, after a couple of years, the effect of your exposure wears off a little bit.
Well, arguably, you get more exposure than the Worlds. Although the Worlds is concentrated into 3 weeks, it's bang and it's a lot. 16 weeks, week after week after week, when, let's be fair, there's not a lot of else going on. So you play the Premier League on a Thursday, people are still talking about it Friday, Saturday, and then come Tuesday, Wednesday, you're talking about it again for the new week. So arguably, you get more exposure from sponsoring the Premier League because of the time scale it's on.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. The spread certainly helps with that. And talking about it, it's good. I know Tazoo's taken over a lot, but it is good to see that. Obviously, there's a lot of money coming into the sport from the betting companies, but it's good to see that there's that interest from elsewhere as well to come into the sport. So hopefully we'll see more. And it is not just Tazoo who are going to be sponsoring them all. It'll be good to see a good range and a mixture of those. And it seems like we're always going to see betting companies doing it, but there's money there to be made, and that's why they sponsor it. But it's good to see someone different come in and sort of test it. Do a couple of the smaller ones as Dob mentioned, and then move on to the big one in the Premier League, and potentially, who knows, the world's in the future.
Don't worry, Mark. We're just teeing that one up now. Funny you should mention that. The Dev Tour, boys, concluded over the weekend. Let me sure I've got the right one teed up. I think so. No, wrong one. Shock. I think it's that one. No, that's the second one. Get there in the end. Sorry, it's because I moved it for the other one, didn't I?
Can't get the staff. Also, while you are fiddling with them, did you see the sponsor, by the way, or the advert on the banner for the last time we had a Dart Connect screen up?
Yes.
World Seniors qualifiers. Next weekend, I'm going to be there. Everything is booked, so keep an eye out on coverage. See Dart Connect involved as well. I just want to draw your attention to the baby-faced photo of Chris Mason on the banner. I'm sure he really appreciates that one.
Yeah. So, development tour concluded. First one, boys. There was a familiar name winning the title, Gob.
A very familiar name winning the title. Rusty Jake continued his dominance. He won. Heading into the final day, spoiler alert, he'd won 50% of all tournaments played on the EU Dev Tour this year. He's just been absolutely unbelievable. He gets the job done to qualify for the Grand Slam, the world spot, his tour card, and everything else that comes with it for being so dominant. But we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the person that he beats in the final in this next 5 minutes, because what a story this is.
Unreal.
16 years I think we should just look at them as a whole. Look, you get Rusty Jake winning the first one. Sebastian Bialecki picks up the second to close out the afternoon, which is the only time, by the way, that Fabian Schmalzer fails to make the final four for a 16-year-old that is making his debut in PDC events to come in to qualify for everything that he did, to pick up £6,000 of ranking money is ridiculous. In 6 events, he made 2 wins, 2 semi-finals, a final, and loses first round in the second event of the weekend of his career, which, by the way, is in a prelim game to Mike van Dijvenbode, who has played on the tour and God knows elsewhere, who averages 106 and beats him in a last leg decider after the high of making a final in his first ever PDC event.
Oh, massively, yeah. And
ridiculous.
Again, shout out, there's some huge talents being unearthed on continental Europe at the moment because, again, Sebastian Bialecki, what a future he has got as well, boys.
Yeah, he's one who certainly come to light at the Open and in the 9 darter within about 5 minutes of the action getting underway. He's very vocal on social media with all the competitions he's in, national competitions in. He always seems to be coming through those successfully on the tour. He's had his very good run. Finished, can't remember exactly where we finished. Just having a quick look where we finished on the order of merit. 5th finish. Had a good had a good 12 events, really, finishing 5th with some names in there who are, your Nito Terza we've spoke about before. Zonneveld being in there. There's some certainly big names who competed in this European Dev Tour. So Bialetti was one who would look at this, I would think, as being a very successful year on the Dev Tour.
Yeah, I know, I'm with you massively on that one. And then
2017 as well as Bialecki. It's frightening.
Yeah.
Absolutely frightening.
So one of quite a few.
Schmaltz 16 and 38 days or something ridiculous. He wasn't even old enough to play in the first 6 events. Like, scary.
Yeah. But Rusty Jake does it again in event number 9, being Nico Springer in the final, boys. And again, there's a familiar feel to it. Schmalzer and Rusty Jake, unfortunately, were in the same half this time, so met in the semi-final. But again, Bialecki getting to a quarter-final, Gaulas getting there, Owen Roloff, familiar names in and around now on the Dev Tour in Europe.
Yeah, no, I think what we've also seen, one thing that's different, obviously, this year is what we've not seen previously is the split. So there is more of those coming through. It would have been interesting to see how that would have worked with some of these players. Some people like Darlas, we expected, well, me personally, expected him to have better runs. For someone to come in and only play the one weekend and finish on £6,000 and Darlas not to be in that is something where he's going to look at himself. For someone finishing second and only playing one, at that, even if you put the age aside, I guess someone's coming in and finished second and only played half the events, you've got to sort of look at yourself and see why you're not in a better position. But there's some unbelievable talent, and it's going to be interesting next year in regards to the Dev Tour. And well, before that, I guess looking forward to the Worlds and seeing how the World Youth pans out in Minehead.
Yeah. Moving on, event number 10. The breakthrough moment, Gob. There it is. Fabian Schmalzer winning in the final.
Yeah, and revenge in the semi-final as well over his old mate Rusty Jake. The event before, Rusty Jake puts 110 average past him in the semi-final to beat him 5-0. Absolutely ridiculous. He gets his revenge. Just consistent performer all weekend. Beats Marcel Gerdon in the final. I think that was possibly the lowest average he threw all day at 79, or certainly close to it. But that's the tension that get into that final, and a winnable opportunity presents itself. It's just, you're running up. I've never even seen the kid actually throw a dart, right? But you see his name bouncing around on Twitter a little bit. Lendl was one that was really bringing attention to him before he'd even thrown a dart. FDI on Twitter had him really high up in his rankings because of the way that he's performed in a couple of lockdown and online tournaments, etc. To come in and just make the impact he has, I keep saying it, is absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, like I said, gets over the line in event 10, picks up a title, puts himself in a very, very good position heading into the final day. If you told him with 2 events to play, you're in the top 4 to make your debut at Alexandra Palace at the age of 16 years old, that's what dreams are made of.
Not only that, though, he went back to back, which is difficult enough to do if you're an established player, Gob. But on your debut on the Dev Tour, just ridiculous.
His sheer level of consistency over the entire weekend was ridiculous. Even when Dimitri van den Berg and Luke Humphreys have been dominating Dev Tours like they have in the past, Ted Evitts, even the most successful players of all time on the development tour, yes, you're playing both fields merged together at that point, don't get me wrong, but they're not making 5 semi-finals or better out of 6. It's just sheer lunacy to do that. And for the first time in a long time, I'm looking at the top 10 on the EU Dev Tour, and I'm looking at the top 10 on the UK Dev Tour. And I think the EU Dev Tour win in a 10v10. And I wouldn't say that very often. I wouldn't say that very lightly. Normally, the UK would dominate it. You look at some of the players, by the way, that have not made the top 10 on the EU Dev Tour. Adam Gallas, Moreno Blom, who's been around a long, long time. Marcel Gurdon makes a final. He only finishes 16th. Owen Roloff's 23rd. That kid can play. And these guys are, quite frankly, a million miles away from some of the consistency that some of these players are producing. The averages all weekend were superb. But yeah, to go back-to-back is unbelievable. It's a solid. And all right, it's overnight, but to just come in the morning after winning your first title, the disappointment of losing in a final in your first one, then getting beaten first round on the opening day, to put that behind you, to come in the next morning and go, all right, people know I am now after 2 days, and just go and do it again is ridiculous.
Final one though, Boise. There was a familiar name to most, but maybe almost a forgotten man. Don't think he played in the first set, Gob. You might say, but I don't think Nico Kurtz played in the first block of Dev Tours. Or if he did, he certainly didn't do very well because we didn't see him anywhere near.
Yeah, he did play.
Water final.
Yeah. But another German with a huge, huge talent, Boise, picked up and scraped into the finals at Minehead with the win.
Yeah, and he's a name who was probably at the start of the year would have been. It was a name that was tipped to push on that a Tard. It was a name that was probably tipped to have a dud run this year in the European Dev Tour. Probably disappointing when you look at it. Like I've just mentioned, only got 500. Only won the £500 was the most in his up until this last event. Little too late, I guess, into finishing in the top echelons of the Euro Dev Tour, but stood seeing back to winning ways. It'll be interesting to see that youth World Championship is going to be so interesting because the names that are in it, the tour title holders that are in it, there's going to be a few shots. I'm not sure, back onto Dobbs' point around, I still think the UK top 10 would beat the European top 10, but I think it's very, very close. And if you'd have looked at that a few years back, you'd have probably been edging towards an 8-2, 9-1 victory in UK, where now could be very much that it's a closed haul. I still think UK are slightly better in that top 10, but it is slightly, which shows the quality and the numbers we've seen. I was keeping a close eye on the final day, seeing who would get that final spot, and it was some of the numbers, some of the outshots were just at a really, really high quality, and there was across the whole weekend.
Yeah, for those that don't know, that Nico Kurtz has actually got a really good job in Germany. It's a really high level apprenticeship or something along those lines. So darts is very much second to him right now. And that's perhaps why we haven't seen him kick on as much, because at times his other job has taken priority. But there's no question he can play.
Yeah, we've seen happen to a few players. Harry Ward gave up his tour card. For some people, darts is not the be-all and end-all of their life. But like you said, he is a very talented player. Before we move on from the Dev Tour, obviously that's it finished. We'll look at the World Youth Championship when we do our Players Championship preview show in a couple of weeks' time. Want to comment on what Andrew just said. 3 Czech players reaching a semi-final this weekend. Very, very surprising to see that flag constantly going deep. And it's not really a nation that we'd ever really go, actually, Czech Republic is a massive hotbed for darts. But Adam Gaulas is obviously the one that you'd recognise the most. I think the other ones is Thomas Hudek. And I can't remember the third one. Was it Roman Beneke as well?
Yeah.
Where I should have done a little bit before I went on this little spiel. It's Roman Beneke. Just solid for an emerging nation. If you get a couple of players come through at the same time that are going to push each other, like we saw a little bit with Max Hock, Martin Schindler, one player breaking through for a country is massive because people can aspire to be that. 2 or 3 breaking through together that can go through the experience together, that can push each other on even further, is massive for a country. So look out for the Czech Republic in the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, really good interview dropped on our YouTube channel yesterday. I'm going to play a quick clip. A lot of people asking about where Russ Bray was recently recovering from hip surgery, and it's good to hear that he's on the Men Boys. Here's the clip. Remember, after we're done, go over and have a listen in full.
Absolutely amazing. I've been in pain for 4.5 years. I've been taking tablets. The boys will tell you I've been taking 30 odd, nearly 40 tablets a day for over 3 years, solely just to try and control the pain. When I had the complete left hip operation, I come to, that pain, that aching pain had actually gone. That had actually gone up when I come to from the operation, and honestly, I feel amazing now, absolutely amazing. I'm on no tablets at all, none whatsoever, no painkillers, and you know, you're clearer up on the stage, which I weren't before. You're standing there like that, you're swaying, it was horrible, Phill.
Good to hear that the voice is on the Men Boys.
Yeah,
Definitely.
but very much so. I think also just another point that he mentioned, and that was about him going to Australia and Asia and stuff for those tours, and to see them push on next year then. To get back to what we've seen previously, is also very good, and that he's sort of leading that in regards to he'll be there on there, certainly promotes it even more, because having him back on the stage and performing to the level that Russ Bray can, you know, he touched upon there about the amount of tablets he's on, can't be good for anyone, especially sort of the pressured job that he's in. So it is good to have him back on the stage and not on any tablets at all.
Absolutely. I don't think, have we missed anything in the week of darts, boys, that you can think of?
A couple of things, but they're more news bulletins than discussion points, I think. So now's a good time for people to start getting questions in as we run through them. Nitin Kumar has won the Indian qualifier for the World Championship, so he will be there. County was back this weekend. Have a look on Darts or Windows to check how your local side got on. The next time they play is in a couple of weeks' time. Back end of this month, I'll be back on stage as well. Obviously, my team are away this weekend, so no chance for that. Quick reminder, we're going to be at the World Seniors next weekend. Obviously, we're going to have dual coverage. Phil's going to be in Wolverhampton, picking up interviews from all of the players as they come through in the groups. Lots of interviews coming from that one. Obviously, lots of short turnaround games. I'm going to be in Reading covering the Fly on the Friday night and both qualifiers on the Saturday and Sunday. And actually, one little further discussion point, I guess, before that leads into question time is just how accessible dart players and fans are. In the last week or so, we've seen Nathan Aspelon on social media giving away his T-shirt and just walking around with his coat
off his back
with nothing else on, off his back to a fan, which is absolutely superb. And the charity event this weekend,
the Stevenage exhibition as well, did one for a young fan.
And then the charity exhibition hosted in memory of Carl Anderson. So many players giving up their time for that one. Massive well done to Mac for getting that up and running. And some of the pieces of memorabilia I've seen that have been auctioned or raffled off, they're not cheap. And the amount of money that people would have spent in that venue that would have all gone towards Carl's family. All the pros gave up their time for nothing. Johnny Matt, Mervyn King, Jose De Souza, Phill Taylor, Dimmy, and the like. So, look, you don't really get that accessibility with sports people in any other sport, I think. And there's potential. We've seen moments this year where people and darts players and whatever received a little bit of abuse from social media. And look, it can quite easily stop very, very soon. So I guess that's the moment to say, enjoy it while we've got it, make the most of it, because you see the amount of memorabilia cropping up. You see how accessible dart players are at exhibitions on social media, etc. Just bask in it because it's brilliant.
Yeah, look, completely. And it was just great to see exhibitions back as well. There was 3 or 4 across the weekend in different locations across the country. First time since COVID hit, we've had full exhibitions, which has been just amazing, boys, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm with you. I've seen clips from the one with Michael. Was that Derwin Price, Fallon, Joe, all there? Was that Stephen Each, maybe? Seen one.
Yeah, there's one in Butlins as well at the weekend, which looked great.
Yeah, one in Butlins. I've seen one in Scotland, I think, with Devon. Seen
Devon and
one.
Joe.
Yeah, there was
Anderson and Keith Deller out and about this week as well. Some of the old boys getting some match practice in.
Yeah. There was just so many. And as we're going into questions for the last part of the show, I want to start off with the first one for you, Dob, because you are very lucky to beat the qualifiers on the weekend. Who are you looking forward to the most at them qualifiers? Because there is some big names in them qualifiers.
Do you know what?
There's going to be so much.
If I had an entry next, because I got some to have a look at as yet. Friend of the show, Chris Mason, is going to be there, and that's definitely one that I'm looking forward to. There are plenty of players that are going to be in that venue that I've just never seen play. I started watching darts pretty late. It was all BDO for me, so I missed a lot of the players that had already moved to the PDC at that point. You go back, you try and watch some of the archives and whatever. There's going to be points in interviews where I just don't know who played who in 1984 or whatever. So there's not going to quite be that. There's only so much research one person can fit in. I'm not going to know every single inch of detail of every single player's career to go and ask them about it and saying, oh, how does it feel to be playing that person in this room once again, 30 years after you met them in the quarterfinals of this, for instance. I just don't have that recall, but it's just going to be fantastic to be at a big event like that. Venue's great. And actually, Dart Connect covering the event helps us massively because it means I don't have to sit and blog every single little result. People can see that coming in. We can do the little bulletins. I can do a few clips for social media. And actually, the thing that I'm really looking forward to this weekend is to doing a behind-the-scenes vlog. I'm going to do from the moment I leave my house to the moment I get home, possibly day by day. Depends how long the footage comes out. But that's the plan for this, to produce what we see at these events. Because I don't really think you get to see that a lot. You get to see what happens. You get to see a few highlights of the matches. Obviously, we're going to be streaming the quarterfinals onwards, so we can chuck that in without having to worry about upsetting anybody with regards to rights of images. We've actually got highlights to chuck in between it as well. So yeah, a lot of editing that I've never actually done before, but what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, look, it's going to be good. So plenty of lives, Twitter lives, Instagram lives going to be floating around as well as short, snappy little videos from Gob in Reading. And of course, yeah, the Grand Slam of darts. Raven just said there, Colin Monk, absolute shout. But yeah, no, look, it's going to be good. Busy week for us, that is for sure. But yeah, question time it is then, boys. Let's go.
Niall, I won a local last night. It's all about the practice for Kalani this weekend. That was when we were talking about what else happened in darts this week. Well done, Niall. We're really proud of you.
Yeah.
Dan asked a good question. Who starts 2022 as world number one? Which is basically asking us, does anybody within the top 6 win the world championship? Other than Gerwen Price? Or does he keep it there? And would they have to win something else as well first? 500,000. It's literally Van Gerwen or Wright that could catch him with a world championship win.
Yeah, no one else can catch him, I don't think.
And isn't Wright defending?
Yeah, Wright's defending, isn't he? So anyway. Yeah, I don't think Wright can.
But Van Gerwen made a final. Would that step up be enough? I don't think so. He'd have to win something else first. Gerwen Price starts 2022 as world number one is the easy answer, because his world championship is not defending anywhere near as much as the two chasing him. And even if they win, they're still going to be slightly short.
Yeah.
Unless MVG or Peter Wright wins the Grand Slam and the Players' Championship finals and heads into the World Championships in excellent form.
Yeah. Daz asks, Phil, is Russ going to the Grand Slam? Yeah, I believe so. Look, I think most tournaments will be Russ, Kirk, and George, with a little bit of Hugh sprinkled in as well. I think that's the current lineup.
Yep. Sounds about right. Will Gurney get back to his best again? From Tommy Tornado.
Well, when we're saying his best, are we saying the Daryl Gurney that got to 4th in the world?
Well, that wins majors.
For me on
rephrase
that,
will Daryl Gurney win a televised TV major again? Because that's basically what that question is.
No.
So I think yes, but I don't think we'll see him back in the top 4. I think consistency is probably the thing. I think he can win another one. He will win another one, but I'm not sure he'll consistently put himself in that position. What was yours, Phill?
No.
12 months ago, we just sat here and said once a player hits a slide or a decline, it's very, very difficult to arrest. But actually, in the last 3 to 6 months, Barney making a comeback, Kim Hybrecht's picking up his form again, Adrian Lewis, and Rob Cross have shown that it is possible. And Daryl Gurney was at a similar level to a couple of those. He's not a former world champion, so he's not AD Lewis, Barney, or whatever, but he's a former TV title winner that was competing with those top 8 players. And 5 points away on your average from a consistent base to then work on, there is potential. And it's far more likely that he can make a comeback now after seeing those players do it than it was 2 years ago when you look at players that have dropped off that just never ever come back up again.
Yeah. Henry said, will it be on Online Darts or the World Seniors Twitter? All Gob stuff will be on ours, Henry. That's the plan. World Seniors Twitter will still be nice and active, but all Gob stuff will be on ours. James also asks, where is the cut-off now for the Pro Tour race wise? Hendo, Waits, Hop, are they all safe on 45 for the tour card race? Sorry.
It's so difficult because you've got players that will just be. If you get the odd run at the Slam and then Players' Championship makes a massive difference. Depends who's in and who's not in that. I don't want to call anybody safe yet. I think Andy Bolton is clearly safe. He's $4,500 ahead of 56, but anyone from Willie Ball and down is still. Look, they might not get scathed at all, but to declare them safe, $10,000 difference between Barney and Willie Borland in 66th, there's a chance. If Borland wins nothing for the rest of the year, Barney wins, gets out of the group at the Slam, puts a dent in at the Players' Championship, makes a third round there and gets to round 2 or 3 at the Worlds, he's overtaken William Borland on the tour card race. So
I think, looking at that as well, I think he's safe, but there is certainly concerns with John Henderson, because looking at his prize money, he loses 25. He's defending 25 at the Worlds. That's a lot to defend, considering where he's at. No, that was 2020. So that comes off.
Does the tour card race not include that money dropping off?
Yeah, it does, I think.
And then first round going back on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with James. I think Borland is safe.
Yeah. Fine.
I think Borland and Up are safe.
I think Andy Bolton is the only place I'm 100% going to stick my neck out for. And it's a massively safe answer, but that's where I'm going with that one.
Yeah.
Jonathan, who do you want to win the Grand Slam? Is that you asking us for our personal opinion, not who we think will win? Who do we want to win? Because we don't do bias here at Online Darts. We don't have favourites, do we, Phill?
No.
Because I can already tell you the other two people's answers right now. Phill has two options. He wants Michael van Gerwen or Fallon Sherrock to win it. Lee wants Devon Peterson to win it.
The Grand Slam.
I'll take a crack on, I'll take a crack on James Wade. Why not? There we go. Job done. He's only in the Premier League, and that'll really upset some people. That's it for all of us. Tell me I'm wrong.
Even though he's not on it anymore, and I can tell you that Jarl Feason wants Roman van Barneveld to win it. So there we go.
Yeah, Jamie says, I think we'll see an extra aggressive Gerwen Price at the Slam this coming week.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah, I think we will. I'm just interested with that Group A and B in regards to if Clayton and Price do thumb through, if they thumb through both in first or they meet each other that early on, it's just going to be such that because of the short format and the amount of shots we have in it. If we don't see a very aggressive Price early on, we certainly see one if he meets Clayton.
Do we though? Does that friendship not diffuse it a little bit? Like, don't get me wrong, he will attempt to fire himself up a bit, and he's promised that, and he said that he needs to be more aggressive. But if you don't have it coming back at you, because Johnny's not that sort of character, Christoph Ratajski is just going to shrug off. He's not going to come back at you with it. Nathan Raffy is the one I see that is prepared to gear up and go back at him. Even Mervyn King, who we've tipped to come out in the opposite group, none of those players strike me as the players that are going to give it back. And it's so much easier to lift yourself up if there's that little bit of tension or needle or aggression coming back from the other person, because you can just feed off each other. If you have to create that yourself, it's so much more difficult to push through. Especially if he's consciously making that decision. If you're saying, I need to be more aggressive, I need to do this, you're almost going into a game thinking, right, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And you just feel a bit daft if it's not coming back at you.
You do. I get that, Dob. I guess the flip side of that is it's being played in Wolverhampton, where we've seen so much history with Gerwen Price and the crowd, that even though the player might not be giving it, I've got a feeling the crowd involvement will play a part in Gerwen Price's reaction and how aggressive he is. I expect it from early on, and it just did him better and better. What was that, sorry?
Really? What happened in Wolverhampton?
Just a little tap, I think, on the shoulder it was.
Someone, where is it? Karen says, why isn't Nathan Aspel the Slam? Because he didn't qualify, mate. Because of the odd qualifying criteria, the ASP will not be there.
Yeah,
yes.
Didn't win the event.
The names. The names. I was looking at the qualifiers, and obviously Dobey and Ridge, we spoke about earlier on. But I was writing down some names, Asp, Adi Lewis, and then people who are in form like Noppy, Dolan, Hybrecht's coming into it, who are just not at the Slam. There's so many big names who are just not playing in this tournament. And that's why it froze up, and we knew we was going to get that. We wasn't going to have the 8-ton fruiters of how the draw was made, but there's some huge names who are not playing this next week.
Yeah,
and it's good to mix things up and see some different people, but at the same time, there are some. And if it was some of the bigger names missing out that aren't playing very well, the likes of Gary Anderson, you possibly wouldn't have a problem with it. But when you're missing out on form players that make for good games, that make the level of right now, I don't think many people can argue with me that adding Danny Noppert or Kim Hybrechts in the form they're in would not make for a better tournament than the form Gary Anderson's covering right now or James Wade.
Yeah.
But hard to make a montage.
Just Phil, one that's in there as well that I've just spotted, because I know it come up in your interview with Matt around Riley's UK Open qualifiers returning in 2022. Sure, correct me if I'm wrong, that Matt says they will be returning, or that was the plan at the zone to be. For me, that is, speak about the Slam.
COVID permitting, they're back.
Yeah. And we speak about the Slam and the differences of how that works. For me, it's key for the UK Open that we have them back in that. It adds to that feeling for the UK Open. So that for me was great news on that interview.
Well, that we have true grassroots route to participate in it. Not necessarily through Riley's if they're struggling club-wise or that sort of thing, but there has to be a way of putting complete amateur qualifiers into that event. It has to still be the World Cup of Darts that I can go and qualify for. Never going to, but it has to be that dream for everybody else.
Yeah. Jamie says, who's in charge of the scheduling of the games? Is it Sky or the PDC? They kind of work it between them. That's not just Sky, that's ITV as well. They work it between them. And it just shows you the commercial pulling power of certain players.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Let's not beat around the bush. It does.
No, I'm with it. It's just I don't know what the right solution was going to be for Saturday anyway, or Sunday. It's great for the people. For me, it's great for the people who've got tickets for the afternoon sessions.
The afternoon,
It's not totally flooded on the evening. Yeah, so it's good that's the taste. How the players react to that will certainly be interesting. If there's anyone there in the venue who's asking them questions for us, that'll be interesting to see what the reaction is. Can't think of anyone.
Double-barreled question next. Someone asked about the Champions League returning, and then Tommy asked which TV tournament will be scrapped next. Champions League will not come back. I think we can categorically say that. It was created to fill a gap to get PDC Darts onto the BBC and terrestrial TV. It achieved that, but it didn't quite maintain that. Don't see that return unless BBC suddenly decide they want to go for it again, and actually they keep constantly being overpriced of everything else at the minute, and it is a little bit of a filler. So yeah, Paul says it just seemed a bit of a filler. The group format very, very similar to the players that enter through the Masters, the Premier League, and that sort of thing, and the groups format as well. It was okay. It was a bit of fun. Paddy Power, I think, made the event actually being the sponsor. Yeah. That was probably the fan engagement was far better than what you actually got in terms of something different on stage. Mensah winning it as a TV title was great as well. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I don't think we'll see that one. But in terms of what TV events will we see scrapped, I'm not sure we will. The PDC seems set in their calendar. They're just going to make tiny adjustments to it. They put out the fan engagement survey on the World Cup recently, whether or not they make any differences to that. The Grand Slam seems to be the one that people have the most umbrage with. And I think because it's been through so many changes in terms of who plays in it, because of the downfall of the BDO, the fact it went from non-ranking to ranking to get extra ranking money onto the players' prize money, I think the event's here to stay. The format might tinker around a little bit, but actually I don't think the PDC are anywhere near as concerned about it as us sat here discussing it. They're just going to keep using it however they want, get the 32 players in as a group stage, which is the unique thing about it, and carry on from there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. But yeah, we're all in agreement that something needs to happen with it.
Yeah. I think last one, because it is 2 minutes to 10, and all right, Reese has only just got here and people are taking the mix then. We always run over 2 hours now, although we don't have a show next week. So maybe we could do an extra 5 minutes if the questions keep coming, but I'm not going to over everyone else's time. Sanadino, RVB, it does return. Without me for the first 2 nights, because I'm in Reading, but we'll get to that because that rotor still needs to go out. Could RVB have won the World Seniors, and is that where he should have gone? For me, it's a yes, says Sanaldino. The thing was, the World Seniors didn't exist when Barney made the decision to make his comeback, and COVID was still wreaking havoc with exhibitions, etc. I think without COVID, does Barney make the return? Potentially not. That's a question for him. He obviously felt he was in a better place than he was 18 months before that when he left his darts on stage in Amsterdam and carried the downfall for the rest of the year, etc. But look, winning that Pro Tour, qualifying for the Slam, the World Championships, the way that he has, you can't really begrudge the year he's had, because the criticism of him in his final 18 months or so was the perceived lack of effort and the promises that he'd pick it up and keep performing and trying for fans. And then he was missing Pro Tours for exhibitions in the season and that sort of thing. That hasn't happened this season so far. So, look, would the World Seniors have been a massive opportunity for him? Yeah, 25 grand prize money, and he's got something to fall back on in a couple of years. But I don't think he gives up this tour card again. I think you'll have to pry it from him.
Yeah. I think this is us for all three. Reece says, change one dart from the history of darts. What dart would you change?
Probably one that I threw myself.
That's all of mine. I can't pick one.
One in history.
What a question. What a question.
Don't know. Might give Chisnall a title here or there. Wade in that semi-final. Draftgate.
MVG.
Yeah.
Back-to-back nines.
Or record average.
Yeah, for me, the two that I struggle between is either the MVG double 12 or the MVG double 18.
Paul Lim's double 12.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's in the mix. Oh, great show that is. Great show.
Nostalgia. I can't claim it. Niles just put it in the chat room. That would have been even Gando. There isn't very often your opponent wants you to hit 9 dart. In the early days when it was very, very rare, there was a lot of celebration and cheers, and actually sometimes your opponent celebrated it more than you did. But nowadays, when they're so frequent, just the respect and the admiration everybody has for Paul Lim, that would have been class.
Yeah. I remember Jarlath sums it up as well. Next show, which is in 2 weeks, the Live Lounge hits its 50th episode, boys. 50, not out.
3 weeks, I know. Is this 49?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I thought we had one more after the slam, and then, oh, God. What are we doing, Phil?
We'll think of something.
Well, when? We're in Wolverhampton! To
be fair, though, it's good. Because for once, I've got some hours during the day.
Okay. We'll go and knock on Boise's door and have a meeting.
Right, last one then, God. What are we going for? Last question.
Rose is asking for a giveaway for 50 shows.
We will sort something out for a giveaway for the 50th show. What, I don't know, but I promise you we will sort something.
Yes. Any teasers for the 50th? There would be if we knew what we were doing. San Aldino, there was talks of doing a show in person, but logistically, we're not quite sure how we're going to get around that at the minute. We will drop some on social media as and when, because I know we've been teasing this one for a long, long time. We promise you, Online Darts merchandise is very, very close on our website.
Again, Wolverhampton's coming in at a good time.
Yeah.
Because it gives
very, very close.
Genuinely gives us hours to sort something out.
I'm very much feeling off brand at the moment, chaps, just saying.
Maliki wants us to give away your washing machine, Phil. The famous
to be
washing
fair,
machine.
To be fair, next time we do a show, if I'm sat in this seat, this room may look very different.
Oh, no. The next time we do a show is the 50th show. You are not putting Christmas decorations up, or I refuse to come on.
Rob, if that was the case, I'd have told him to put them up last week.
Piss off. You weren't even here last week, you cheeky bugger.
There would be a very different feel
the
to this
sniffles.
room, Rob. But Everyone, absolutely, what a live lounge it has been this Monday. Absolutely top draw. Everyone in the chat room, give yourselves a massive round of applause because you have all absolutely smashed it out of the park. Remember, plenty coming up. The live league returns tomorrow, 9:30 kickoff for the second day of Group A. Chris Gilliland leads the way after a perfect day today. Then coming up later on in the week, plenty of action. As we said, Gob will get ready for the World Seniors Qualifier. I will be in Wolverhampton for the Slam. The Fallout Bar returns and plenty of reaction in between. Many thanks to you all. I've been Phill Bars, joined by Jack Gobby Garwood and Lee Boyce. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much. And we will see you all very, very soon here at Online Darts.
Let's go.